guys, so these are the notes for day 2 of week 3, or Tuesday if you're going day by day, which I do recommend. Also, yes, everything is locked. You need to go in order day by day because all of this new stuff builds, okay? But anyways, this is the video for Tuesday's notes. We're going to be talking about subtracting polynomials. Subtracting polynomials is very similar to adding. Very similar steps. There's just one extra thing that we have added on, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started. I will keep this one short video, promise. So let's go ahead with our steps for subtracting. Again, just make sure this is in on page 33 in your notebook, okay? All right, so steps for subtracting polynomials. Step 1, we're going to distribute any coefficients that aren't a positive 1 to all terms in that group. That may sound confusing, but we'll do an example, okay? So distribute any coefficients that aren't a positive 1 to all terms in that group. All right, step 2, let's see. Rewrite the expression with the new coefficients and signs. So again, I'm trying not to talk as much just to make this go quicker, okay? We'll write down the steps and then I'll talk you through examples. So step 1, step 2, step 3, this is where it becomes the same as adding. So I am going to write that, same as adding. You're going to combine all like terms. And write in standard form. And again, just remember, standard form is the biggest exponent to the smallest one, backwards. Biggest exponent, smallest. This camera being backwards really throws me off, okay? So these are your steps for subtracting. Really, this first step and then having to rewrite it is the only thing that's different, okay? Because as we talked about, step 3 is the same as when you're adding. All right, so let's go ahead and do some examples, okay? Because this really means nothing to y'all until y'all actually see it into play. So example 1, we're going to take 3x minus 4. We're going to start off easy, and we're going to subtract 2x plus 6, okay? All right, so here is where step 1 will tend to throw people off. So you guys look at this and you're like, oh, there's no coefficients. Let's move on. But this is the really important part from step 1. Any coefficients that aren't a positive 1, okay? I need you guys to look at this example right here. That's not a positive 1. Remember, there is an understood 1, but what kind of 1 is it? It's negative, so we need to distribute it, okay? Because what this negative 1 is going to do is it's going to change my signs. Subtracting changes your signs, all right? So, did we touch this first part? No. So this is just going to be 3x minus 4, right? But now look at your second polynomial. Negative 1 times 2, because when I distribute, I'm multiplying. So that's negative 2, and it had an x. Negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. Okay? So I just distributed the coefficient that wasn't a positive 1. It was a negative 1, so I distributed it. And then I also just rewrote the expression with the new coefficients and signs right here. So now, all I have left to do, step 3, is combine all like terms and write in standard form, okay? So my like terms right here, 3x minus 2x, That's going to give me 1x, right? And then negative 4 minus 6. They have the same sign, so that means I can add them. So that's going to be a negative 10. 4 plus 6 gives me 10, and it was negative. Okay? So your answer here is just x minus 10, and you can keep the 1 there if you want to, okay? So the only thing that was different was we had to distribute first, all right? If there's not a plus 1 here, if it's anything else, minus 1, minus 5, even a plus 5, that's not a plus 1, you've got to distribute it, okay? Now, let's just review our classifying, make sure we're good with it. So what kind of polynomial is this? How many terms does it have? 2, so this is a binomial. And then what's the biggest exponent you guys see? I did this one for a reason. So I don't see one, but remember this x has an understood 1 with it. So our degree just equals 1 here, okay? Just wanted to review that and make sure you guys were good because some of you struggled on it with your homework last night. All right, so let's do example 2. I'm going to swipe on my phone and get to example 2. So for this one, we have negative 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus x plus 8. And we're subtracting negative 2x cubed plus 3x minus 4. All right, so step 1, if there's anything other than a positive 1 in front of the parentheses, we've got to distribute it, okay? So look in front of our parentheses. There's an understood 1, but what kind of 1 is it? Negative, which means we have to distribute it because that negative is going to change all my signs, right? So let's go ahead and just do that first so some of you can see it and make the connection. All we're doing when we multiply by a negative 1 is changing the signs. When you do negative 1 times negative 2, it becomes a positive 2x cubed. Negative 1 times 3 is going to be a negative 3x, and negative 1 times negative 4 is now a positive 4. So all it did was change my signs. If you want to go through and just change all the signs, that's fine with me, but it's because we're distributing this negative 1, okay? Now, I'm going to bring down the front polynomial because I didn't touch it, but I don't need the parentheses anymore because we already distributed. All right? So, I did step 1, I distributed. I also did step 2 and rewrote the expression with the new coefficients and signs. So now I'm just on step 3, combine all like terms and write in standard form. Okay? So, let's look at our like terms here. Okay, I've got negative 2x cubed and a positive 2x cubed. What's going to happen with those two? If I have 2 goldfish and I take away 2 goldfish, I don't have any more, do I? They canceled, right? So now let's look at our next one. There's no x cubes left. You don't need to write 0x cubed. There's none, okay? 5x squared, are there any other x squareds? No, so I'm going to bring it down. Okay? Now we've got a negative understood 1x, right? And a negative 3x. They have the same sign, so I can add. 1 plus 3 gives me 4, and it should be negative, so negative 4x. And then last but not least, we've got positive 8 and positive 4, which is going to give us positive 12. So this is my answer right here. Okay? And again, let's just practice classifying. So there are 3 terms here, 1, 2, 3, right? So this is a trinomial. Again, you can abbreviate. Some of you asked me that. I said it in the last video, so make sure you're watching the videos all the way through. But this is a trinomial, and then the biggest exponent, the degree, is going to be 2. All right, so let's do one more. I feel like you guys are getting comfortable, so let's do one more. And for this one, I was going to step it up, but I actually think we'll just keep it the same. 10a squared minus 11a to the fifth plus 9a cubed minus 9a. Okay. All right, so example 3, let me move this so y'all can see it better. Okay? So again, we're going to check our sign. If there's not a positive 1 in front of that second parentheses, you've got to distribute and change the signs, okay? Now, this one doesn't have a positive 1, just like all the other ones. It's got a negative 1, so I'm going to distribute that negative 1. And in the last example we just talked about, all that does is change all the signs. So this is now positive 10a squared. This is now positive 11a to the fifth. This is now negative 9a cubed, and this is now positive 9a. And if you want to multiply every single one of them to check, you can, okay? But that's what you're going to get. We didn't touch the first polynomial, so I'm going to bring it down. And again, you don't need the parentheses anymore because we already distributed. So now I've distributed and I've rewritten my expression. So now I'm ready to just combine like terms. But remember, you've got to put it in standard form, okay? So what's going to come first? What is my biggest a value that you see? Okay, yeah, I agree. I see 5 a's here and 5 a's here. All right, that's your biggest. Now this is negative 6 plus 11. They have different signs, so we subtract them. 11 take away 6 leaves me with 5a to the fifth. Remember, you're not changing what kind of animal this is. Think about animals at the zoo. We're not changing what kind of animal it is. We're just changing how many of them we have. So the a to the fifth stays. Don't do anything with that, okay? All right, after a to the fifth, the next biggest I see is a cubed. But there's nothing else that goes with it. There's no other a cubes. So I'm going to bring that down. Okay? All right, let's see. What else do we see, Miss Poole? Next, I see squareds. So 13a squared plus 10a squared. 13 plus 10 is 23a squared. And then check out what's left. These two are not like terms. They do not both have 1a, right? So we're just going to bring both of these down and put them in order. So the a comes first, plus 9a, and then the minus 2 will go in the back. So this is our answer right here. All right, so now again, we want to practice classifying and stating the degree. So for this one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different terms. Way too many kids to fit into one car, right? So this is a polynomial. And the degree, the biggest exponent we see is right here. So the degree is equal to 5. All right, so biggest thing to remember with subtracting, just make sure if there's not a plus 1 in front of those parentheses, it has to be a positive 1. Then you've got to distribute it because it's going to change what's on the inside, okay? All right, so try your homework. Get on Zoom if you need my help. Y'all should be good. Bye.